great Bobby Belt?
Bobby Belt is an idiot.
Don't make me take off my belt.
Don't make me take off my belt.
We're not. Over to you, Bobby.
We've talked about coaches on the hot seat, but what about the players?
Players on the hot seat.
Players. Let's get into it. This is Below the Belt. Thank you to A Number One Air for presenting it. Let's look at which players' jobs for 2025 and beyond are on the line here in this final stretch of games. So I've got some names, how hot I think their seat is, and I'm going to ask you for your thoughts here on this chop. And over on the fan text, 877-881-1053. That is the Frankel and Frankel Injury Attorneys fan text, 877-881-1053. So let's talk about how critical you think these final several games are for their potential future here in Dallas. Got 5 names for you here, Chop. You ready?
All
right. Number 1, Rico Dowdle. So Dowdle is
I'm going to need his age.
Dowdle is in the final year of his contract, has been injury prone for a lot of it. Overall, would you say that for all the issues with the running game, have you been like I have fairly impressed with how he's run the ball this season when he's been given opportunities? I think he's been solid.
I've been fine with Rico.
I just think opportunities haven't been there for him consistently. He turned 26 in June, so he'll be 27 next year. But not a lot of tread on the tires. He has started 6 games in his career. He's been in the league since 2020. This is his 5th year. He missed all of 21, most of 22, played in 23, but he only has 167 carries.
All right, let me ask you this, because I don't believe that. So I know some people believe, like, if you don't play a year because you got hurt or whatever, or you just didn't play because you didn't get the touches, that you're not really 28, you're really 27 because your body didn't go through that.
You don't believe that? I don't believe it with corner or receiver or anything else.
And I'm asking, I agree. I think I know where you're going here. I think we're going to the same spot. Does it matter with running backs?
Running back, I think that does, because running back, you're getting worn down. Like your body's getting abused.
Corner and wide receiver, it's an age.
Yeah, when you're
thing.
30, you're 30 and you're losing speed.
Yeah,
27 is a really early age for you to just start going through a sharp decline, and that only happens because they take a beating at the position, I think. So that matters there. Now, if it was he's 30, well, I'd say no, he's about 30, and that's just you're going to start slowing down a little bit.
Like Adrian Peterson, after the ACL, right? Like it was like, all right, well, he didn't play that, but he did play.
Yeah.
Like, would you have counted that? No, because he was too old at that point.
Yeah. So at this age, though, 26 years old and has carried the ball 167 times, I think. So
what number would he get on the offseason?
Couple million, probably $2 million.
Fine.
So I think that he's somebody who is he playing for a job?
Yeah.
I think he is, but I think the Cowboys are leaning towards, we'd love to have him back as part of whatever running back room we have. So Rico Dowdle is that name on that front. Next name for you, Jalen Tolbert. And did the Jonathan Mingo trade yesterday, this kind of got brought up, is that an indictment of Tolbert, or is that just you need 3 receivers?
I think it's 3 receivers because you do. I think that we were slow. I wasn't because I'm smart. But I think the football public was slow to look at the third wide receiver no differently than you would your right defensive end.
Yeah, the one who's up against the left tackle.
You need, well, I guess that'll be the left defensive end. You need 2 defensive ends. You need 3 wide receivers. We were just slow as a football public to realize, it's not just 2 wide receivers anymore, right? The third wide receiver is a position on the field that is a starter. It's a 60-play-a-game guy. It's just as important as your second defensive end. So, yeah, I think you need 3, absolutely.
But is he one of them? Is he good enough to be a starting receiver?
Tolbert?
Yes. Has he shown you anything that says, all right, it was coming along slowly, but he might be able to do this?
I do, because what do we really expect out of because he was supposed to be the third.
Here's what he's on pace for this year. And he's had to be the 2 for about half the season now.
More than that. Right?
And Ferguson is involved in that too. He's on pace this year for 17-game projection, 64 receptions, 750 yards, 6 touchdowns.
I mean, that's better than Brandon Cooks got last year, isn't it?
Yeah. Little bit better. But
that's fine.
In general, you're fine with that?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have 2,000-yard receivers, are you? We're not the.
And he's not a big cap charge yet. He's got another year left on his deal. But is it enough to say, hey, this is your chance to tell us why we shouldn't pick a receiver in the first 3 rounds?
Well, let's see what Mingo's like this year. If he's not,
there's an
good.
investment there. You essentially used a 4th round pick on Mingo. You just drafted him with your 4th round pick.
You did. I would still consider using a pick on a receiver the first 3 rounds.
Next up, Mazi Smith. Is Mazi Smith playing for his job the rest of the way?
Oh God, yes.
Taco Charlton was cut after his 2nd season. I think Tristan Hill was cut after his 2nd season. So right now, Mazi has played out similarly to those two. He got into, whoa, geez, I did not realize that. Did you know Tristan Hill got into his 4th year with Dallas?
Oh God.
How'd that even happen? Here were Tristan Hill's game totals. Number of games played for the Cowboys. 2019, 7 games. 2020, 5. 2021, 6. 2022, 7. And then he got traded or released in 2022. But Mazi Smith, is Mazi Smith going to be given a longer leash because he's a 1st-round pick, or are we looking at the Taco Charlton situation again where he's a bubble guy in camp next year?
I think that I would not bring him back.
You wouldn't even bring him back as part of your rotation next year.
Just move on. Cut your losses.
Which is something that's more concerning to you when you see somebody who technically doesn't look like they're putting it together, or somebody like Mazi where it feels like their head might be broken?
I don't know. That's not a position where it's a mental position, right?
I think every position's a mental position when you're hanging your head, and he hangs his head a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think it is, but maybe.
So, is there anything he can do to reverse things for you over the final stretch of games?
Sure.
Or
play well.
How well does he have to play? Does it have to be dominant, or can it just be give me league average play at defensive tackle?
Play as well as the guys that left in the offseason.
Okay, that's fair. 469. Rico is a scammer. He's injured every year except his last year when he's trying to get a new contract. Hell no, let him go. I don't think Rico Dowdle has been faking injury. I think Rico Dowdle has wanted his opportunities for sure. Another 469. Mazi was a terrible pick. We need to stop using these 1st-round picks on project guys that are so ridiculously raw. There's barely even a hope they will work out. We're doing hot seat rankings here for the Dallas Cowboys players the rest of the way. Terrence Steele, how hot is his seat over these final 9 games at right tackle?
In what you've evaluated, how would you grade him?
Better than last year, not as good as he was before the injury, which is average to at times a little below.
Does he look like the injury you could tell is absolutely impacted?
I don't know if the injury is impacted. It might just be coincidental timing, but if you look at that as the line, the timeline marker, then it's been different since then. I think last year it impacted him. This year, I don't know what's going on. This past game, he played well, so hopefully he's rebounded.
Mm-hmm.
But Terrence Steele, especially if Tyler Guyton's struggling at left tackle and feels more comfortable at right, and you just say, well, we can move Tyler Guyton to right tackle and we can kick Tyler Smith out to left, is Terrence Steele's job on the line down the stretch, Chop?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's too important of a position to, go with somebody that you can't trust. Your quarterback is getting older. You don't want him hurt. He doesn't move as well. That's okay. It happens. They're going to look, they might. Would you consider them moving Guyton to the right side next year? And
yeah,
if they get a left tackle that's on their board that's there?
Sure. Yeah, or if you like a guard, move Tyler Smith out to left tackle and Guyton to right if Guyton's more comfortable there.
Absolutely.
I know they think They think Guyton does have the footwork to be able to do left side. It's just it's got to come around. He's been a defensive tackle for a lot of his career. He switched over to offensive line in the last few years. There's some rawness there. And then, fifth name here, Chop. A guy that I feel like we're always waiting for him to break out. It feels like we like him, but it's like, when's the next step? And with all the investments you have to make, Osa Odigizua, who is an impending free agent. Is that somebody whose job is on the line, or is that somebody that you're just kind of thinking, that's a guy. I can get that guy anywhere, and I got other things I got to spend money on. I can't be devoting money to a Tyrone Crawford.
That's a guy that... Boy, shots fired Tyrone Crawford.
You know what I'm saying? I like Tyrone Crawford, but you know what I'm saying. The Cowboys wouldn't have done the Tyrone Crawford deal over again.
Again, right. Yeah. That's a guy that, and this is a perfect example of what how the Cowboys may do things differently than other organizations. I think a lot of other organizations might say, you know what, we can find that dude. He's a good player, but you have to be in the NFL. You have to be willing to walk away from quality players.
And he's a good player.
And he's a very good.
It feels like we've been waiting for him to take another step that he hasn't taken.
You've got to be willing to walk away from good players with your window open and replace them and put faith in your drafting and your player development. You got to be able to do that. You have to be willing to do that. Otherwise, you'll never manage the cap. So I'd be okay with him leaving.
Look, and when we're looking at these hot seat rankings and we're talking about getting the most out of players, a guy who's gotten the most out of his players this year is Brian Flores in Minnesota. He's done a great job. That's somebody who a lot of people are really high on.
Yeah.
Would like to see him get another shot here in the NFL.
I thought you meant here.
Or here as a head coach. And you know what? Dallas is potentially going to have a job opening. We played earlier today the political attack ad from Bill Belichick on Ben Johnson. We had the political attack ad from Mike McCarthy on Bill Belichick. There was another one that was out this week for the growing sentiment for Brian Flores to get another crack. There was some pushback against the idea of Brian Flores potentially being the head coach here in Dallas.
Brian Flores doesn't want you to remember how things ended in Miami. Luckily, that's one of the few things Tua Tagovailoa does remember.
If you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right.
It doesn't matter that Flores' evaluation of Tua was correct.
Sometimes I drop back and sometimes I just practice backflipping and throwing, you know?
What matters is one question. Does Brian Flores have the temperament to deal with Mike Leslie? Vote no on Brian Flores and no on controversy. Paid for by John Gruden's campaign to get back in the NFL.
So, look, a lot of powerful money doesn't want Brian Flores to get the job here in Dallas.
Boy, these are great. These are great. We need to do these for every election cycle.